We're about a week away from Phantasmal Flames releasing, and I'm sure you guys have seen the cards by now. There's a lot of pre-releases that have happened at this point and everything of the like. But regardless, today I want to do a formal set review for GLC for Phantasmal Flames. Coming off of Mega Evolution base set, which is one of the best GLC sets we might have ever gotten, it's going to be difficult to try to live up to the hype, but I'm sure there's still stuff to use in this set. For clarity's sake, I'm only going to be covering cards that I think will eventually or probably are good enough to see play. There's going to be a lot of cards that I inevitably skip, so if you think that I'm wrong on this, just let me know in the comments. So with that being said, let's just hop right into it. And starting in grass, we have Genesect. Genesect is a pretty alright attacker for Rillasaur or Mega Boom based decks currently. Its first attack is really nice to give yourself a snipe option, but the scaling is really weak, and it also doesn't really make up for that in any other part of it, so it's not going to probably see widespread play, but I definitely think it could see play. Unfortunately, that's everything Grass got this set. There's a couple like okay-ish Pokemon, but they're just not worth playing over the better attackers in the type. So let's move on to Fire. Firstly, we have Darmanitan. Darmanitan is a pretty good attacker for Charizard-based decks. I mean, it does have good scaling. Every energy you attach to it is going to deal 80 damage, so you're doing 160 for 2 with Charizard up. Not bad. Completely off topic though, why have we gotten so many Darmanitans in like the past 6 sets? Next, we have another fire attacker that's really good with Charizard and Reshiram. Now, Reshiram does have a lot of upsides over Darmanitan in the sense that it does more damage per energy while also still only need 2 energy to attack with Charizard up. I think this card is really solid for Charizard-based decks. You could loop this very efficiently with something like Gouging Fire, something like Entei. It's pretty good. It seems especially nice to pair it with one of those two because then you have a tanky big attacker and then your glass cannon that hurts itself. I can see Reshiram seeing play in these decks for sure. And that's it for Fire. Pretty okay showing, honestly. It is a little unfortunate that both of the good cards directly play into one of the more inconsistent Fire strategies, but they're still buffs nonetheless. Maybe eventually they'll get used. Starting out for water, we have the new Optimal Piplup, unless you're using Recall Empoleon, which is like the main reason to be using Empoleon in the first place. So that's cool. The only other Empoleon that sees niche play is the one that just gets itself out of the discard pile, so you pretty much don't ever need a Piplup, or at least this Piplup if you're going to play Empoleon, but if an Empoleon that's just generically good comes out in the future, this will be the basic you play with it. Speaking of basics in water, we have Suicune. Suicune doesn't solve the biggest issue water has, which is that it has no basic attackers, but it is a nice little band-aid to put on it. This card isn't necessarily bad, it's just, it gets good too late to really matter. I guess it's cool that you can loop it, but then you have to buff its damage for sure. And water has ways to do that, but it's probably not worth it. It's gotta not be worth it. I think Wishy-Washy is still going to reign king over water's basics for a long time. And I think they know that they shouldn't print a good water basic, but we'll see what happens. And that's all I have for water this set. Fairly mediocre showing, but it's a nice breath of fresh air as a water trainer, because now I can spend actual time building my older decks up and updating them instead of having to immediately go to the new best thing. It'll be nice to, refine the Feraligatr, refine the Wailord decks and make them very good before we have another huge beta shakeup in the type. I don't think anything in Lightning is worth talking about this set. The Pawmot is not better than other Pawmots. The Boltund is actually just bulk. It's very thin amount of cards that they gave, and none of them are very good, unfortunately. Starting for Psychic, the Mischievous is probably the optimal basic for that. I'm not going to show it because it's very quick, but I'm going to move on to the card that I think is really good this set from Psychic, which is Zacian. I think Zacian is a really nice attacker to have to pair with cards like Iron Boulder and Giratina and all them. The Psychic attackers we all know and love, right? This plays very similarly to Gouging Fire, which was previously mentioned in Fire, If your opponent has 3 or fewer prizes remaining, this card is hitting you for 140 for 2. That's really solid, especially with a Psychic colorless cost, which means that you could use Dimension Valley and hit for 1. I'm gonna leak a little bit of sauce here, but I think Guzman Hala needs to start being played in a lot more Psychic lists than it currently has been, because if you hit a Guzman Hala and you lead Zacian, you could do a play where you go and search out D-Valley Muscle Band and then start swinging 70 for 1, and it's Van Rotem! You just got Van Rotem out of nowhere! In all seriousness, I do think Zacian is going to be a very nice card to have for Psychic, and I think a lot of decks should consider adding it. I have high hopes for it. So, Fighting got buffed, like, into the Stairway to Heaven last set, and thankfully this set, none of the cards are good here, so we don't have to worry about anything breaking even farther. Thank the Lord. Flygon's really funny. I like Mill. Other than that, nah. So we just got done talking about Fighting and how aggressively good they got. Dark got that same treatment this set, and it mainly is because of a supporter and a Pokemon. We'll get to the supporter later, the Pokemon will come up soon. Starting out, I just want to talk about Crocodile. Crocodile is kind of cool because it is a incredibly hard-hitting revenge attacker. Probably not worth playing outright, but this thing does kill a whale, which is cool. It seems I made a mistake. It actually only does 220 damage. That's not enough to kill a whale, but close enough. Good try, Crocodile. So now we're going to get into the card that made Dark exponentially better, and that is Toxtricity. But we're going to start with Toxel, because this might be the most min-maxed evolving basic you could possibly have for this. The perfect 70 HP breakpoint, that's what we love to see. It has 1 retreat, which is also what we love to see. Call for Family 4-2 is crazy for a Pokemon that is going to bolster your entire board. Why did they feel the need to make it that good? But I digress, because Toxel doesn't have anything on its evolved form in Toxtricity. This card is just Magma Basin, but on an ability. But then you might be thinking, oh, but Jabringus, Magma Basin goes from the discard pile. Yeah, Toxtricity is broken Magma Basin on an ability. It searches your deck for the basic energy and attaches it and deals 2 damage, which many of Dark's Pokemon can benefit from. Dark also has a propensity to play Floatstone, and you also have Hiding Energy, so you should never have an issue where you can't switch your active out, so Toxtricity's bench-only thing should never matter. This card is so crazy. It revived Guzzlord. Guzzlord's been dead for like months. It revived Guzzlord straight up just for existing. Easily the best card in the set. You don't even have to test with it to know that this is the best card in the set. But anyway, moving on, we have Weavile, which is a great attacker to pair with Toxtricity. There's so much inherent synergy here. You use your manual attaches on other Pokemon, and then you do your Toxtricity pings on Weavile and get the 2 energy on it from getting the pings, and then you're swinging 190 for 2. That's a lot. That's a lot of damage. But yeah, I mean, Dark had a phenomenal set. Toxtricity might have straight up just saved the type, like outright. If you're a Dark fan, I mean, get happy, get hyped, buy multiple copies of it. It's got an IR and a set stamp. Let's go. It seems like Dark has sacrificed Metal and Colorless to get Toxtricity, because there is nothing good in either of those types for this set. They got shafted pretty hard, and Metal continually especially gets shafted. Please, creatures, help them. Starting with the trainers for this set, we have Dawn. I think Dawn is crazy. This is such a good search supporter. Finding a basic, a stage 1, and a stage 2 is super helpful and has plenty of synergies with plenty of types. I could see, especially Grass, picking this up and just feasting over it. This thing is great. Next, we have the other half of what broke Dark, which is Grimsley's move. This is a supporter that, if you get lucky enough, lets you just cheat out a stage 2 immediately. Of course, when this card came out, everybody was just thinking, wow, I'm gonna finally get to play Hisuian Samurott, I'm gonna finally get to play Tyranitar. And albeit you still do get to play those cards, and they're very strong, The real strength with this card lies in the fact that you can play cards like Max Revive and guarantee recur an evolved Pokemon the turn it gets KO'd. Whether it's an attacking stage 2 or your Toxtricity or Liepard, the fact that you get that back immediately is huge. Next, we have Jumbo Ice, which might actually be the key to re-unlocking Leviathan in this meta. This card's really, really good with Wailord specifically, and I'm hoping that it kind of lets Leviathan come back into the limelight a little bit, because it got forgotten so quickly out of nowhere, and I think it would have really solid matchups into a lot of the more popular decks right now. Psychic didn't have the craziest showing Pokemon-wise, but they got a crazy compensation item in Wondrous Patch. Now Psychic has acceleration from the discard pile on an item consistently. This card is super good for a lot of Psychic decks, and I'm hoping that it both buffs really cool archetypes like Renegade and unlocks new ones. Battle Coliseum is a really cool stadium to essentially just give the bird to Psychic spread as a whole. I do appreciate it being here though, because we have a lot of competition for the role now between type-specific healing stadiums and, things like Sky Pillar, There's a lot of cool cards that you can fit and a lot of different interactions you can try to cover with these stadiums now. Punk Helmet is a cute addition to Dark. It does do 4 damage on retaliation hit, which I think is kind of awesome, being able to whittle down things for Guzzlord, being able to whittle down things that you could just keep consistently trading out if you take that first prize to keep your gas rolling. Kind of cute, kind of cool. Final card of the set we're going to go over today is Sacred Charm. Sacred Charm is just a worse version of Pot Helmet, so play Pot Helmet. That is everything from Phantasmal Flames that I wanted to cover. Kind of a mediocre set, but it feels like it's slightly out of its control, as they just didn't give it enough cards to really pad out enough decent ones to make it a good enough set. If I was going to give it a grade A through F, I'd probably end up giving it like a C- at its current state. The dark buffs are very substantial, but at the same time, like a good third of the types just didn't get anything of value. So it kind of balances itself out to give it a under average grade overall. Hopefully this video helped you figure out what to look for in your pools or for your orders to grab, staples for your decks. As always, if you got this far in the video, thank you. Please consider hitting subscribe, hitting the like button, all the funny button stuff helps me a lot, lets me know that you've enjoyed my video. And of course, as always, good luck with your builds.